All right, today we are diving into one of the most epic and, let's be honest, kind of confusing prophecies out there, the story of Gog and Magog. We're talking massive armies, divine fire, and a world-changing showdown. So let's get into it and try to decode this incredible vision.
But to really get our heads around this, I want you to start with a pretty strange question. What if the world's ultimate, final battle wasn't really a battle at all, but was actually described as a feast? Keep that idea in your head because it is the key that's going to unlock these two very different but very connected stories.
So, our first story comes to us from the prophet Ezekiel. And this is no party. This is a dark, grim banquet planned by God himself where, it turns out, the uninvited guests are about to become the main course. Okay, first things first, let's meet the key players. In this version of the story, Magog isn't a person, it's a place. It's a land, way up to the far north. And from this land comes a powerful leader, a warlord named Gog. He's the one who's going to lead the invasion. Now here's where it gets really interesting. This whole invasion, it isn't even entirely Gog's idea. The prophecy says that God literally puts hooks in Gog's jaw and drags him and his armies south. Gog thinks he's heading for an easy victory, but he's actually walking right into a divine trap.
And just look at the size of this thing. It is not just one army. Gog brings together this massive coalition from all over the known world. Persia, Kush, you name it. The scripture describes them as a horde so huge it looks like a cloud covering the earth. And they're all coming down on a nation that's just living in peace, completely unprepared. But the moment they're about to strike, the trap snaps shut. And there's no army waiting for them. Instead, all of nature just erupts. We're talking a massive earthquake, hailstones, fire and brimstone raining from the sky. And in all that chaos, the armies get so confused they actually start attacking each other.
And this, right here, brings us back to that dark feast we talked about. The invaders came to plunder Israel's wealth, to feast on the spoils. But in a terrifying twist, they are the ones who end up on the menu, served up as a banquet for every bird and beast in the land, a complete reversal.
The scale of the aftermath is just as mind-blowing as the battle itself. The victory is so absolute that the people of Israel will have enough captured weapons to use as fuel for 7 entire years. Think about that. No need to gather firewood for 7 years. And the body count is just staggering. It will take a full 7 months just to find and bury all the dead from Gog's army, all in an effort to cleanse the land. Okay, now let's switch gears and jump to our second story. This one's from the book of Revelation, and it describes a very different kind of feast. This is about a rebellion that happens after a long, incredible era of peace. These rebels are like ungrateful guests who decide to turn on their generous host. So, picture this. A great king establishes his kingdom on earth, and for 1,000 years, there's perfect peace. No war, no hunger, just a millennium of prosperity. But, as you can see on the timeline, right at the very end of this golden age, an old enemy is let loose one last time. This figure, called the Deceiver, is released from his prison. He immediately goes out to the farthest corners of the world and starts whispering this poisonous idea into people's ears, stirring up that ancient greed and pride. He tells them, "Hey, look at your numbers. We can take this. The kingdom can be ours." And what's so shocking is that after 1,000 years of peace, they actually listen. A global army, so huge it's described as being like the sand on the seashore, gathers together. They march across the world and surround the king's capital, this beloved city, totally convinced that with their numbers, they can't possibly lose. But there's no siege, there's no battle. Before a single sword is swung, the rebellion is just over. In one stunning, decisive moment, fire falls from heaven and completely devours the entire army. It's just that quick, that absolute. So what is going on here? We have two totally different stories, centuries apart, but they both use the names Gog and Magog. Are they talking about the same event? Well, the timing, the people involved, and the outcomes are so different, so we've got to figure out the connection. And here is the absolute key to understanding it all. In Ezekiel, Gog is a specific guy from a specific place called Magog. But by the time we get to Revelation, the names Gog and Magog have become something else. They're used as a symbolic code name, a title for the spirit of that final, ultimate rebellion of all nations against God. This chart just lays it all out so clearly. Look at the timing. Ezekiel's battle happens before a final restoration. Revelations happens after a 1,000-year reign.
The identity? A specific coalition from the north versus literally all rebellious nations. And the outcome? A long, messy cleanup versus instant, fiery destruction. They are clearly two separate events.
Okay, so if they're different events, what's the big takeaway? Why are both of these fiery judgments in the text? Well, it turns out that both stories, in their own way, are pointing toward the same powerful conclusion about power, rebellion, and justice. The whole point of that first judgment, the one back in Ezekiel, is stated right in the text. It's a demonstration. The destruction of Gog's army is so sudden and so supernatural that it's meant to be an unmistakable sign to the whole world of God's power and authority.
And the purpose of that second judgment, the one in Revelation? Well, that one is all about finality. It's the full stop at the end of the story of evil. The deceiver is thrown away for good, and that 1,000-year peace becomes an eternal peace. No more interruptions.
So you see, they serve two different purposes. The first prophecy is a warning, a powerful demonstration for all to see. But the second one is a conclusion, the final absolute end of rebellion itself. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. What do these two ancient prophecies, with their fiery endings, really tell us about the ultimate nature of rebellion and true power?